Our next speaker is Misha Izachenkov from the Weizmann Institute. He will talk about higher dimensional conformal blocks and integrability.
Well, it's a great honor to be here and to be able to congratulate Doran, to wish him happy birthday, and tell him on behalf of younger generations that we admire his work. And so thanks to Doran, many people we have here today. Now there is a beautiful building of two-dimensional conformal field theory, and it developed over decades. And of course, there are still many questions, many open questions left, but it's fair to say that it's very well developed. And of course, the question we address, the question to address next, and one may wonder next, how much like conformal bootstrap program can give in higher dimensions. And last years it was a remarkable progress in this direction with numerical calculations and numerical bootstrap, and people obtained amazing results in higher dimensions using the same ideology. And okay, the question, motivation for my work, the question which I would like to address is which analytical tools do we need for for this to make this possible really analytically in higher dimensions, and which mathematics do we need? So this talk is based on our work with Volker Schomerus. It's still ongoing, and what I would like to argue today is that this mathematics, at least, it should include integrability and some nice novel special functions, as well as nice mathematics as double of Hahn-Hecke algebras and so on. So, so main insight, which we try to carry, try to use and obtain results, is that conformal blocks, so kinematical building blocks needed for really doing conformal bootstrap, are given by wave functions of some integrable systems. And in particular, in case of scalar blocks in d dimensions, it is given, this integrable system is given by hyperbolic BC2 Kaluza-Sutherland model. And in the rest of this talk, so I don't have a lot of time, so I just will explain this example in a little bit more detail. So, case of scalar blocks. So first I will tell you what scalar blocks are, then what is this hyperbolic integrable model, and a bit about the relation. If I have time, I will tell you briefly what we are doing now and why is it useful and what can we get from this. So as all of us know, so conformal symmetry restricts correlation functions in a very severe way. So in particular, out of three-point functions are just determined by structure constants. And I don't have pointer, but okay. So structure constants, and here I have it for scalar case, but of course the same can be done for also for different other representations, and namely for one traceless tensor and two scalars that can be done. So and that's what we only need for today's talk. So because we want scalar blocks, so four-point functions are also very much restricted. So we can introduce usual variables determined by cross ratios, z and z bar, and in terms of this, so a generic four-point function can be decomposed into parts. Okay, I didn't notice these things. So it works. Yeah. Okay, so generic four-point function can be decomposed into pieces which contain kinematical information, so this conformal block which we will bother about, and dynamical information contains this three-point structure constants. So the scalar conformal block, so what Dolan and Osborne found is that scalar conformal block can be obtained, can be characterized by using Casimir equation. So it should be eigenfunction of quadratic Casimir of conformal group. And this quadratic Casimir can be written as some specific differential operator using known realization of conformal group as differential in terms of differential operators. And let us look in a little bit more detail at this operator. So it has two chiral and anti-chiral parts, so depending on z and z bar, and some mixing which is proportional to d minus 2, so in 2 dimensions it vanishes. So some additional parameters related to external dimensions of external scalars, and okay, there are some boundary conditions. So to explain relations to integrable models, let me first look at this simplest case. So 2 dimensions and only chiral half. So as I said, so this vanishes, and we look only at this operator, which is like some second order operator in one variable. And it is known that can be seen that by some particular change of variables, the corresponding differential equation can be recast as a particular Schrödinger problem with this potential. It's called Taylor potential, so it's like from 30th last century. Moreover, so this potential has some nice symmetry, which is BC1, so just two collinear, positive roots of BC1 are just two collinear vectors. And to each of these roots, we have a corresponding term and the potential. Building on this, one can look at two variable case. So we know that we have this part, then we have corresponding chiral part, and we have some mixing. So we would need some kind of to these parts and some mixing, and it is nicely given just by BC2 root system. So BC2 root system is actually BC1, so this is one BC1 times other BC1, and some mixing which gives two other positive roots. So it can be seen that this conformal Casimir equation by such change of variables can be brought to to BC2, what's known as BC2 hyperbolic Alojros-Sutherland model. And so as I said, so we have one partial Taylor corresponding to this BC1, one to other, and then two additional terms which give mixing. So using this gauge transformation, we come to this integrable model, and here a nice story starts because it has a lot of underlying symmetry. So basically, this Hamiltonian first, it is Dunkel operator, Dunkel Laplacian for BC2 root system. So it means that there is some underlying algebra of operators, of Dunkel operators, and commuting. And basically they are part of much bigger symmetry, which is known as double affine Hecke algebra, degenerate version of double affine Hecke algebra. There's a lot of structure in it. So, for example, this hyperbolic Alojros-Sutherland model is known to be super integrable. So it's literally as simple as Kepler model. So has as many conserved quantities as you can have in principle. Still, as many constants of motion as you can have to have motion. There are some dual models of bispectral duality. So double affine Hecke algebra has two centers, and if you reduce respect to different centers, you have either this hyperbolic BC Alojros-Sutherland, or you can have Rasenhar-Schneider, so rational Rasenhar-Schneider model. So all this stuff is known to mathematicians very well, and the theory of solutions has been developed by such people as Heckman and Obdam and many others. And in particular, so the known expansion of d-dimensional conformal blocks due to Dolan and Osborn can be just in our language. It just corresponds to using some Okounkov type binomial expansion for this Kornwinder polynomials, which are eigenfunctions of Rasenhar-Schneider, of trigonometric Rasenhar-Schneider model. So, and it gives a usual expansion in terms of Gegenbauer polynomials of the conformal blocks. So, what is important here is that literally, so the conformal blocks, which are pretty complicated functions and no analytical control was basically available before, almost no analytical control. So now it can be seen as just a very straightforward generalization of hypergeometric functions, of Gauss hypergeometric functions, which we could see in last talk. So it's very common in mathematical physics, very nice function. And moreover, so almost every identity, I mean, that's still, I would say it's a mystery, but almost any sensible identity you can have for 2f1 for Gauss hypergeometric function has its counterpart, or should have. Yeah, but many known identities have its counterparts for this more general function. So yeah, and a lot of connection to very nice mathematics is available. So in particular, okay, I still have some time, so let me mention what can be done based on this insight. So first, okay, of course it's interesting to look now at the external fields of arbitrary spin. Okay, there is a nice harmonic analysis formulation of the problem, which I mean, so basically our claim is that if you look at vector bundles over some double coset of conformal group, so double coset is conformal group, and you divide it by everything which commutes with dilations, so dilations and rotation subgroup. This double coset, for case of scalar blocks, it has dimension, I mean, it has dimension 2. And for case of scalar blocks, you build line bundles over it, and restrictions of Laplacian, just line bundles, gives you the corresponding Casimir equation. So for higher dimensional blocks, there is a similar story, and in some cases we can see that the corresponding integrable model is a straightforward generalization of this BC2 Kalojov-Sutherland to matrices. So it is given by matrix version of Kalojov-Sutherland, but in general it is more and more model. So we have some conjecture of what it should be, but still didn't prove it. So okay, and yeah, D equals 4, the conformal blocks with arbitrary external fields, so-called spinning blocks, were constructed recently. And again, there are some very complicated expressions, and it would be nice to see how our finding organize those and extend it beyond, of course. Yes, also I didn't mention it here, but for supersymmetric blocks, there is a very similar story. You have different double coset here, and you can build very similar, I mean, obtain similar equation. Okay, and the other interesting thing is, of course, to really try and write down the crossing equations on higher dimensions using this increase of analytical control we have. And for this we need crossing kernel. So crossing kernel is defined as usual. So it's crossing equation in terms of this kernel is just some integral equation. And what's nice about it is that it has no coordinate dependence anymore. So it's some just eigenvalue equation with this integral kernel. That's why it's called kernel. Okay, in 2 dimensions, one can compute it as just some 7 of 6 functions over a post. And okay, in higher dimensions, I mean, we know. Okay, that's what we're doing now. So we try to compute this quantity in higher dimensions, and yeah, after you know it, it's basically you just write crossing equation like this, and then it's interesting to analyze what you can get from it. In particular, maybe to reproduce what's known from numerics. Okay, so that's it. So, well, what I would like to say is that higher dimensional conformal blocks, yes, they are very much related to integrability, and these are the building blocks. I mean, higher dimensional conformal blocks are building blocks for conformal bootstrap, kinematical things. So, and we need to have a good analytical control over them, and it's provided by this nice underlying mathematical things, and in particular, it can give many formulas which were not there before, like integral representations or recurrence relations. So recurrence relations actually kind of equations of motion of this bispectral dual Rosenhart-Schneider model. So, and yeah, okay, many more things. So yeah, we can, of course. The hope would be that someday people could, discuss and carry over maybe all those nice and very interesting structures. I mean, all those nice structures which were found in 2D CFT, maybe to carry it over I mean, found by Doron and collaborators to carry it over to higher dimensions. Okay, no. So, thank you very much, and thank you very much.
Any question?
Yeah, question. Since you identified this quantum system that whose wave functions are the conformal blocks, so is there an inner product that one can define on the space of conformal blocks that follows from this?
I see. Okay. Yes, there is some inner product actually. You know, for example, for orthogonal polynomials, you can have. I mean, you just have. I mean, there is some inner product, and there is some duality related to it. So duality of blocks of different blocks. I mean, of blocks in different dimensions. So, I mean.
Yeah. So then I have a follow-up question. So if your blocks indeed can be normalized, so I can have an orthonormal basis.
Yeah.
Of blocks, then actually your kernel that you had on the previous slide, is it then clear that that's a unitary transformation?
Yeah, I mean, there are some mathematician works that under particular condition on parameters it is unitary. So it is. I mean, but I mean, we're trying to carry it still to carry it over. So I mean, after we have some conjecture for what this kernel should be, and if it is what we think, I mean, after we calculate it, there are some mathematicians' works on related integral transform. So integral transform with this kernel. So yeah, it would be nice to. Thanks, it's a good question. It would be nice to study.
Any other question?
Maybe you said it, and I didn't get it. The boundary conditions on the conformal blocks, how do they translate to the quantum mechanics?
Yeah, so basically you have some, I mean, so in this potential equality at infinity, and you, I mean, you basically on infinity you look for some outgoing or ingoing waves or something like this. So it's kind of translation is more or less. So and this corresponding eigenfunctions. Scattering, yes. So the eigenfunctions are given by this Harris-Chandra function because there are many different functions with different bound conditions. This is the right.
Okay, let's thank Misha again.